You see, I never really truly understood empathy until 2020, and it had nothing to do with the pandemic. Or maybe it did. See, in 2020, my empathy epiphany came from doing DMT. See, in the beginning of the year, before anyone had ever heard of social distancing, and there were just rumors about these disease-infested bats biting people like vampires, I was in Poland with a group of influential men sitting in frozen ponds doing semi-hyper-masculine activities. One of those men was Aubrey Marcus. You see, Aubrey is an interesting dude, but more importantly, he stays interested. He's on his own journey of figuring out how to feel better about his life, and a lot of that included alternative lifestyle choices, which included having stuff like open girlfriends, but more interesting was his journey with plant medicines. We often mix up plant medicines with drugs, but there is a difference. Drugs generally make you feel better. Plant medicines, if done under the right conditions, will help you understand yourself better. Think mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote. And I know Aubrey had been through it all. So I asked him, which of the ones do I have to try? And without hesitation, he said 5-MeO-DMT. Here's what you need to know about DMT. It's something your own body makes. Plants make it too. It's been around forever. Most people have heard of the one kind, the NN-DMT. That's the one that takes you on a trip, takes you to other worlds. Your PlayStation becomes a VR headset. 5-MeO is different. 5-MeO doesn't take you somewhere else. It turns off the part of you that feels separate from everything else. So there's no visuals, there's no aliens. It's just all your walls come down. So those walls that we built to protect ourselves, they had slowly turned into a prison without us realizing it. So in January 2020, I'd heard of DMT, that it comes from a toad, but that was it. After hearing about it from Aubrey, I was oriented, and later that summer, knee deep in the pandemic at a party I wasn't supposed to be at, someone mentioned 5-MeO-DMT. And I said, oh, I really want to try that. They gave me an email of a shaman who could make it happen. I had to go through a screening process, reveal my history with substances, prove I wasn't just somebody who wanted to do something cool and talk about it on social media. But here I am. So what was amazing was after filling out all the questionnaires and jumping through all her hoops, she gave me her address and an appointment. It was exactly across the street from where I lived. Like exactly. There was just my building, a parking lot, and her. Even I couldn't deny that felt like a sign. I don't want to go into too much detail about the experience. I did write about it in my book, How to Be Loved. But this is what I can say about it. You do these journeys, you experience things, you either choose to change or you don't change because you can't unhear or unrealize something that's happened in there. But for 5-MeO, it didn't take me on a journey. It just changed me. It broke down my walls and let me experience what life could feel like without them. And the most immediate thing that stood out was empathy. See, before all of this, when someone shared something with me, I thought I was being helpful by giving advice, offering insight, and fixing things. I thought just listening wasn't productive, so I would always chime in with an opinion. And when people told me I wasn't empathetic enough, I thought I needed to work harder. I needed to walk in their shoes, live in their skin. But after all my walls came down, I realized empathy isn't walking in someone's shoes. It's not even understanding what they went through. It's not feeling what they felt. It's not even being able to picture it. Empathy is just believing them. I believe you were scared. I believe you were hurt. I believe that thing happened to you the way you said it did. Even if I wouldn't have felt it the same way. Even if I don't fully get it. Even if it's nothing like I've ever been through, I still believe you. And that's it. Now compare that to a world that we live in. The world is doing the opposite everywhere, all the time. Here's what we actually do. When somebody tells us something hurt them, we run it through ourselves first. Would that have hurt me? Does that even make sense? Can I see why that would be a big deal? And if the answer is no, we shut it down. You're being too sensitive. I don't see what that's offensive. That's not even a real thing. You're making this up. We call it being logical. We call it being real. We call it just asking questions. But what it really is telling someone that what they feel doesn't count. We're dismissing somebody. And dismissing someone isn't disagreeing with them. It's a weapon. It says, I get to decide what's real and you don't make the cut. And we do it all the time. Not always on purpose. Not always to be mean. Sometimes just because someone's pain is hard to deal with or it doesn't make sense to us. We'd have to do something about it if we said it was real, or worse, it touches something in us we haven't dealt with yet. So instead, we'll just poke holes. We'll find reasons that they're wrong, or we'll turn that feeling into an argument that we feel we can win. Because if we win the argument, we don't have to feel anything. But here's the other thing going on. Sometimes this isn't our fault, but it's still our problem. We weren't built to care about everything. Our brain grew up in small groups, maybe 150 people, people we knew, people we could see, people whose pain was right there in front of us. That's what we were made for. And now, before we even had coffee, there's a war, there's a shooting, there's some drama, there's a disaster, there's someone famous doing something awful. There's a whole comment section of people ready to fight about it. Then we wonder why we feel nothing. See, we're not cold, we're not bad people, we're just full. There's a switch in all of us that flips when we've had too much. Not a flaw, it's just our body saying, I can't take any more of this right now. But when that switch flips, we go numb. We feel bad about it. We tell ourselves we should care more, do more, feel more. And that guilt on top of the numbness, on top of being overwhelmed, that's when it's easiest to get to us. And there's always someone ready to get us because our pain is super useful to them. Our loneliness is a business. Our grief is a door. Our fear is something they can run on. That's how it goes. We're overwhelmed. We're scared. We don't know who to trust. We don't know what's real. And someone shows up and says, I know what's wrong. I know who did this to you. I know where you belong. Come with me. And that feels like relief because it is for a while. Everything was complicated and they just made it simple. There's always a them. Them is why you're struggling. Them is why things aren't fair. Them is what you need to be afraid of. Them could be anyone. Immigrants, men, Nazis, furries, MAGA, the poor, the billionaires, people who sign emails with their pronouns. And now we have somewhere to put all those feelings and people to feel it with. And that feeling of belonging, of finally being understood, of someone saying, yes, you're right to be scared, is so close to what we actually needed that we can't always tell them apart. And see, this is how grief turns into anger at a group. This is how loneliness turns into loyalty to something that doesn't actually care about us. This is how empathy, the real thing, the simple thing, gets swapped out for a team jersey. We stop believing people. We start sorting them. Are they one of us? Are they one of them? And everything goes through that questioning first. You see, I woke up from that DMT experience face down in a puddle of my own vomit. I was crying uncontrollably and not fully connected to myself, but the walls were gone. And days later, I could just hear someone without running them through a test first. Their pain made me feel pain, and I could sit beside them and offer to be in pain with them. Nothing more, nothing less. I think about how hard that is to hold on to in a world that's really working hard to keep that test running, because the test is good for business. Our anger is good for business. Our fear is good for business. Our need to belong somewhere is good for business. Feeling that them is coming for us, that's the whole thing. Calm people who just believe each other are really hard to sell shit to. Now, before I say anything like this is how we should approach everyone in the world, I want you to know something. The walls that DMT broke down, they came back. It took a few months, but I was back to my old protected self before the pandemic ended. So I'm not advertising DMT as a magic toad venom that will change your life. What I'm saying is we should practice empathy every day, and we should practice it with the most important person in our lives, ourselves. Because somewhere in all of this, the overwhelm, the guilt, the numbness, we stopped believing ourselves too. We told ourselves we were weak for struggling. We were too much for being scared. We were behind for not being able to keep up. We put ourselves through the same test we learned to put everyone else through, and we didn't pass either. We think it's self-awareness, but if the only thing we're aware of is everything we're doing wrong, that's not self-awareness. That's just turning yourself into the enemy. And we already feel like one too. Feeling overwhelmed isn't a flaw. Anxiety isn't a weakness. Being tired isn't laziness. Our body is telling us that this is a lot, that the world is hard right now, and we're not making that up. So when you ask yourself how you're feeling, and the answer is, I'm scared, I'm tired, I'm confused, just reply to yourself with, I believe you. Not some motivational quote to make yourself more productive, and what you really need is a break. Just, I believe you. Start there. And then, one person at a time, try it with someone else. Not everyone, not the whole world, not the comment section, definitely not the comment section. Just one person right in front of you. I believe you were hurt. I believe you were scared. I believe that's real, even if I don't fully get it. You don't have to walk in anyone's shoes. You just have to believe them. Not for their sake, but for yours.